Happy patch day everyone, I hope that you all have had great success in your games so far, and with the nerfs to Space Groove in the B patch, I believe the meta is going to be quite open and many lines viable across all cost buckets. Today we're going to be jumping in game with Tleyds in the all gold augment encounter, and our gods are going to be Yasuo and Kayle. We are starting out here with the opportunity to already be picking up Ezreal 2. Ezreal Cho reroll is something you could consider. It's a very niche combat. I know APAC loves to play it whenever they see no scout, no pivot. Perhaps with early learnings is something to consider. Also have the opportunity, we gave up on the Pyke pair. This is an interesting turn. The Pyke comp, I believe Pyke to be an amazing unit to be playing around in the earlier stages of the game. And we have a Gnar pair as well to pair with these snipers. Probably the strongest board here, yeah. Holding on to these bastions and the Ezreal 2 seems to be a gold start for us since we only have seen one component so far. And now we see more of a rogue shop, more of the Space Groove. This is played before the B patch, but generally you're going to be avoiding Space Groove, and going into these games is going to be similar. Do get a duplicator, and it's heavy gold start for ourselves. We have the option to make 10 if we are quick, but we have this Mordekaiser and Zoe duo here. Could pick up the Nasus quickly from the shop, and maybe even the Gwen would be my read. Simply playing for all the options we could, or make 10 and say that we are quite satisfied playing around these snipers as a good opener for ourselves. He opts to go with a rogue pair instead of holding on to these vanguards. I believe that we would want to have a vanguard. Obviously, if we see a Leona, we have the possibility for print. But it's an interesting choice. We only have an open chain. We have to be taking direction from our units or establish it with our augment. Prize fighter, we have not done a scout yet, but I believe we are not quite strong to capitalize it. Do not have the frontline pairs. I don't think we only have maybe bastions here that we could be considering. Otherwise, whenever it is only one component or even a couple of components, this augment can be very strong. If you have the board for it, you are going to have a component advantage, which is going to be greatest tempo for you. Electro charge, I do not like taking combat onto one, and this niche is you specifically playing into something like a Rammus or a very strong frontline form like for Vanguard. The frontline vertical is not that strong. Savings account though, if we find a Milio, we have a great spot for ourselves to be sacking and making that econ right there. Econ onto one can be king, especially when the meta is leaning more towards fast 8. Would have to give up on the, considering I would see the Gnar reroll. We also gave up on the Gnar pair, so we're definitely not playing that. Do not see a bow or a sword. Infinity protection, this augment is not really in favor in this set. Maybe something like a Yi-line can utilize it, but then you also have the backline Belvet and Urgot. Late game scaling for your fast 8 comps, trying to capitalize on the tempo from the XP gain, but it's quite hard to pull off from this kind of a spot, and we do not have the exact opener for it. We're going to go for a full sack instead, going to give up on that Ezreal 2 we made, going to want to start making these econ thresholds as fast as possible. Now this play more signals to me that we are probably going to be considering some form of a strong roll down on 4-1, but Robin here is full open. Not the Robin songs, but a different Robin. If you've seen some of any ladder games, Robin Van Kenobi is quite a lot in quite a few of them. We are holding on to these Primordians as well. Nicely ties always together with the Timebreakers. Do not have the options anymore to be playing at the 3 Primordian 2 Timebreaker board. That would be insane econ. But we have a possibility for an anima out as well if we are naturaling one of our 3 costs. Also fine to be slotting in the anima, especially from winning the first round on to 5 for us. Into a... I don't doubt this is going to be Twisted Fate reroll. I don't think we checked our Stargazer, but might be most likely a Zaya comp, given that bow right there and the TF2 to be playing around, as well as the Aatrox too. Quite strong of an opener from that player right there. Do not hit right away our anima units. So this is just going to be a loose streak spot. We find a possibility to be playing for the 3 Primordians, just going to be slotting that in for a little bit of an extra gold to pair with Bruiser. Hope to kill off 1 or 2 units and simply preserve as much HP as we can. Here have the Challenger emblem, which is most likely going to be played into the Challenger MF reroll. A very good comp to be playing for your top 4s right now. Hard time winning out for it, but with Challenger Emblem you have the possibility to hit that 5 Challenger breakpoint where you can put up quite strong fights. And with Ornn perhaps falling out of favor with less Space Group players, you have the possibility to also go for Ornn too there. Kayle is going to be quite strong in these lower item starts, especially for players who can complete an item with this. We are on a lost streak and would be a Titan, so not that excited about it. However, Cosmic Hex, I don't think we have a locked direction in right now. We do not have a unit we're buffing it right way, so we're probably just going to settling for a component, in my opinion, here. The bow can become many things and is quite flexible as an item on its own. Ideally, I would assume we want to align ourselves with Yasuo since that provides a little bit more power for ourselves. Going to be going with a sword here from the Lulu, which indicates to me that we might be considering more leaning into some form of an AD line with the sword, with the bow. If we find a glove, I believe we're quite locked in there. See that there's a player playing around Ornn, that the Cosmic Hex is going to be quite big for them. We scout the lobby, we queued into the Sacker already, so we also had the option to play for 3 Timebreaker, but do want to make sure that we are the weakest in the lobby as we can, as there seems to be another player possibly considering playing for a lost streak. Going to be going with the anima, and just hope that they are not going to be going full open on us going into this neutral round. I thought maybe he already had a Kriya plan, but he's just going to be cleaning his team plan. They're using it here. Otherwise, just to talk about the meta, generally the patch did not seem to bring that many changes. Serpent was bugged, but now is going to receive big buffs on its side. Hopefully becomes more of a viable Stargazer, as that Xayah line is definitely something you want to be having in the meta, giving more forecast opportunities. Otherwise, your tanks are obviously, forecast tanks are quite contested across all of the lines, but there are reroll outs emerging, and whenever you have a chance to click something like an Exalted Venture, I believe you should still utilize it and simply have a little bit of a more interesting game on your hands. Leveling here to 5 since it doesn't cost us anything, just to ensure that we kill off these Krugs. And we are probably going to want to have either the natural units we hit, or some of these items decide our direction for us. Another bow. I do not think we could be going for a Jinx reroll from this kind of a spot. Now, this is where someone like Wigbug in my last video would be like, alright, I am Jinx Spike, I have that red buff, I am very strong, and I do not think it's going to be contested. Now, seemingly, it seems that the lobby is leaning at least with a couple of 3-cost rerollers, so perhaps we could find a 3-cost out, but the prominent 3-cost lines have been taken, that being your Samira Ornn and that MF. And obviously playing into Urgot is quite rough. Also, the MF player is probably going to be holding on to that. So let's see if this augment can provide us perhaps with more direction. Pilfer, we're playing weak board, cannot take it, and it's usually quite slow. It's something you have to have a strong board for and then start printing gold from it. It's quite tough. Pandora's items would be decent if we wanted to accelerate our item tempo or fix our components, but I don't think we have a direction, so probably picking up a booster pack here, but that would be doubling down on the econ, and we're going to be having already quite a lot of gold incoming, so I'm not biggest fan of that, but probably defaulting that. Kahuna Huna. Can we consider playing into Master Yi? I believe that we definitely can. Master Yi align me more playing from a tempo spot, but our items are not that bad at all. We have these 2 animals, we can make a Giant Slayer, have a spare bow for our Kindred. Kindred is still a carry I would watch out for. Definitely quite strong of a line if you're able to get there and still cap around that Fiora too. So I believe I like this direction from here. I do not recall what our psionic item was, but anyone with this could work. For this kind of spot, you simply just have to make the decision here to commit to a line so you can make optimal decisions coming into this stage 3. Seraphim Staff would be more leaning into our AP lines. I do not like playing Asol from this kind of a spot. Trifecta though. Could we consider the old school anima reroll with Aurora Lawi? We do not have a single copy of them yet, and our items are red buff, Spear of Shojin maybe? A little rough. It's a hard decision. I would be leaning before Kahuna Huna and Trifecta. Personally, I like Kahuna Huna better. Even despite the many nerfs he has received, it's still insane in that Master Yi comp. But we're going to be going with Trifecta. Does give us that Aurora as well right away, and we have that Lawi picked up. And he seems to be mapping out the board here. This is going to be a anima reroll. So we're going to be playing into anima reroll with Elawe, with Aurora, with Victor. Quite interesting to see how this is going to work out. This comp saw some play in PB, and obviously Victor coming into the set was quite strong of a unit to be considering playing around. I do not think this player with the Vanguard emblem is going to be playing Aurora, but it is a variant that they can be considering. Aurora is usually as a secondary carry around many comps. And Victor has received few buffs over the previous patches, so perhaps he's also quite valuable. We're going to definitely be having that gold. We have the duplicator, and hopefully the anima cash out does provide us with an anima weapon that we can use going into the 17.5 patch. All at the anima weapons that are based on damage did receive buffs, so it's definitely quite strong possibility and spot to test them out. For ourselves, Rod is quite appealing. We do not have the AP items we're going to be playing. Victor generally does not want mana items. You want as much nuke in him as you possibly can. Jeweled Gauntlet, Death Cap, Striker's Spell, things like that. However, Cryogenic Hex, in my opinion, is just the most broken thing ever. Especially if you're playing around a reroll comp where you have this one big guy holding down the fort. Cryogenic Hex is absolutely amazing, and he's going to value that more. Going to be wanting to look for Illaoi items here, so picking up a chain for ourselves. Still have that open component anvil. Could have done the trick where we pop the anvil, going into god selection. The old trick from the carousel still works on your god selections. We have already 4 copies of Pike, but I don't think we're going to be having enough items to also go for this Pike. And Pike 3 is going to be quite expensive. Morgana 2 going in there from performance, and this is the obviously your Samira. Hopefully, last time we have to see this come for a little while. I personally myself had just had a little bit too much. And our psionic item is the drone. So that's quite neat. There's probably still, in my opinion, the best Victor item you can get. Otherwise, any form of AP carry is completely fine. And if we were to play the Master Yi Kindred, just toss it on whatever. Utilize it. Since the stats got changed from these items, they can just be used for whatever. We're going to be going fast. Level 7 here. We cashed out our savings account. But is 300 cash out going to be enough for us? We are very low on our HP, but we have the possibility, if we somehow manage to sack one more and then stabilize heavily, to go for a 400 cash out, which definitely gives us a higher potential for a win out. Going into 3-cost reroll with just 300 cash out is quite tough. What do we have an option here? Guiding Hex, 2-star Aurora, 3 gold. So we'll put us 5 copies of Aurora. Guiding Hex... It's hard to, we need more data on to see what exactly is going to be working best. I have never been the biggest fan of Guiding Hex myself. He's going to opt to save. We high roll a Sona, which is amazing for ourselves. Now we are mapping out here, getting the 2 Darkstar in, have that Sona, adjusting our board, amazingly red, and going to start to roll here. Seeing a possibility to stabilize our board. Our board is extremely weak. Thank God the frogs got nerfed. So because otherwise I believe we would have had been maybe perhaps a little trouble of killing them. They were quite strong going into the set. Stoneplate, we have that Cryogenic Hex, definitely something to consider slamming here. And then probably pick up a tear or a bow? A bow or... yeah, okay, sort out that anti-heal... sorry, the anti-magic resistance for ourselves. Going with the Bramble Vest, completely fine. But we're going for that 4-card in the cash out, so we definitely have to be rolling here. You cannot underestimate. We need to pick up this augment next fast and have enough time to roll down all this gold. There's still a lot of gold to roll down. We are rolling for quite a lot of units, but when we are on 7 Illaois, which is a good part. For ourselves, this augment has to be picked quickly, you have to be fast. Reinforcement. Cannot take this without really chasing a 4-cost. Exiles makes our positioning a little tricky, especially once we are committing to the Stoneplate Cryogenic Hex kind of formation. And leaves us potential wraps. We will slap that Cryogenic Hex in the middle, so we also have to watch out for post like second Master Yi. If we have spreading out, could give us a potential to wrap our backline from like the either side, right? Exclusive customization, not bad. We are leaving an open item on, I believe, both of our carries and the tank for our anima weapon, and then we are just fine to be tossing whichever we get. Cybernetic Uplink, though, a little more mana gen. Aurora loves that mana gen, but the Victor is not the biggest fan of it. Second Wind, we have the Cryogenic Hex, and our other tank units are not really going to be doing that much. A decent combat option, where it seems that he is either leaning into more in the combat option, passed out on that exclusive customization, which I believe to be a completely fine pickup. Charge transfer, not doing that much overkill, going to be taking it. Hit the dupe cash out, which is one of the 400 cash out possibilities. Reforge Duvu Blasters, that's not, we're not playing an AD unit, not going to be the worthwhile. Going to be rolling deep here, 1 copy away from, couple of copies away from finishing Illaoi, but we are quite close on dupes. Do get bench lock, going to utilize these dupes, going to stabilize here. Still have a dupe to spare. Had to roll our all gold, and we're going to be running a Mana Victor. We have that Annihilator, which in this version, after 16 seconds, is going to be dealing all the damage stored onto the enemy board. And it did just receive buffs to have either rather than 20% damage stored, 25% damage stored. One more roll, find that Victor. Obviously, you can see a Maokai 3 there coming in as well. This is greatly assisted by Ornn 3 coming in as well, by other rerollers. The reason why we're able to hit so early because all these other players also were sending it down on 4-1, increasing our shop odds, and now we have a better chance to pick up. We got Maokai 3. The whole lobby is spiking quite hard, these 3-cost rerolls. We just have to hope that this anima cash out was enough for ourselves. We have 2 itemized carries, we have a very juiced up tank, and we have a Sona mods to even further amplify our team's power. Is this going to be enough for a win out spot? Last selection here, acceleration X. We have quite a lot of mana generation, but we are not really in need of items. We are now looking to itemize Sona most likely, rather than another tank. Or perhaps he might consider another tank for something like a TG. Also, this is going to decide who we're lining ourselves with. I believe we want to line ourselves with the Yasuo, so just simply picking up the acceleration X could be quite fine in my opinion. Going to be going with a glove. Now for our item, we have the glove, we have the possibility to improve our items with the jeweled gauntlet. I already have that single Sona amazingly picked up on the level 7. This is going to definitely put more power into our team. Now we have this drone that's... Or we could just move the Void Staff, actually Spear of Shojin probably moved off is going to be even better. Improves our items on that Aurora, which is going to be a stronger carry in my opinion than the Victor. Red buff, full utility. Yeah, full utility Victor here works out amazingly, and then having that Sona right there is quite good to just get him mana gen and get her to that 5th cast a little faster. Fast 9 player here, has not hit that much yet, should be an easy pickings for ourselves, and hopefully bring him down to closer to these... They are on a couple of lives, so they're still going to be quite of a threat, especially if they find a lot of gold for that god selection still sitting on 30 right there, and the new pair. Today also we can see they have hit Diana 3 there, but even with the Vanguard emblem, only a Diana 3 I would not be that afraid. I'm more afraid of the potential wrap. We're opting to... Alright, so we're going to be full frontlining here. Not going to be wanting to get this Diana walk up too slow, and we queue it into her right away. Amazing read from ourselves. Let's see how we fare against Diana. Should be not of an issue. She does not have that much time to ramp up. Easy pickup for ourselves. The Awalawi is able to hold down the fort, and the burst damage from our side once that Annihilator procs is quite immense. Now looking to complete item for Alawi, just taking the first option here. Crown Guard's completely fine. She has a little bit of that AP scaling in there. Not sure why we didn't put the open rod onto Sona, but doesn't really matter. 10 AP should be fine. Also, we are in quite a bit of the item diversity. Well, the Spear of Shortage is not going to count, but otherwise should be a decent buff from Kael. We just now have to maneuver our frontline units, right? See which side we want to gain the most value from our stone plate. See that most players are aligning onto the left side from us, and should be fine to have that Ilawi remain as it is. Let's see how we fare against this Space Groove line. Have hit that Ornn, hit that Radiant Warmogs on this roll down, which is exactly what they wanted, but it works out quite great. Definitely once that Annihilator procs, the board gets clear, but even before that, this Aurora is packing a punch. Maybe we have been underestimating her for quite some time, but nonetheless, the Victor is also able to very nicely apply all these debuffs. And now we just have to be wary of any potential Fast 9 players that could perhaps blow us out. The Zaya there also could be a little bit of scary, has that quite a good of a build. I do not think we're afraid of a LeBlanc. Also sitting on Karma 1 and Nunu 1 should be completely fine for ourselves. Ilawi print a little less prominent in the meta, but this player believes to have hit quite early but didn't chase that Ilawi 4. Easy pickings for ourselves, and this board is definitely, the cash out has stabilized, and obviously the Sona pickup allowed us to reach even further, and the Darkstar Execute is working out quite nicely into this board. Very neat to see how we managed to string it all together. Holding on to just that Zoe here as another conduit. Obviously we want to be capping around Bard. That seems to be your regular AP cap. Another LeBlanc player. Alright, but they are tanking. That is a Leona 2 still here. That should be an easy pickup for ourselves. Surprisingly, the fight was a little bit closer. Now they are close to that Leona 4, but it seems that the player is dead. Right, we killed them, so we should be no problems for ourselves. Looking to just now further itemize our Sona pair on 4, find another Voyager, just getting a little bit more frontline. We definitely have enough backline presence. Striker's Flail, I believe we're going to be keeping Annihilator. The Annihilator also did receive a mana gen buff. We have also that Cybernetic Uplink, so this does allow us to put more power into that Sona. That's another nice read. Going to synergize with Annihilator, the damage stored is quite good. The issue is with the proccing it at 16 seconds, it's quite late in some of these fights. Now we're getting into late game where the fights are quite bursty. And our comp also is playing more around that upfront burst damage with that Victor, with that Aurora. However, nice to have some backhanded part in it, and the stats with the buffs that they receive both in AP and mana gen are quite neat. Double mana zone is also quite nice, just getting again her to that 5th cast. Against the Ghost of Diana board shouldn't be a problem, despite we saw the fight before. It doesn't seem that their board has improved that much. I do not think you can also only single carry that Diana tree. Definitely want to be chasing something like a Zoe tree along it. And we have secured our top 4 from here. Not going to roll here on that level 8. We do not really have anything to be rolling for, and we are in the prime spot here to be pushing level 9. Keep tabs on our board, on our opponents. I don't think we... Yeah, if the Space Group player hit the Samira 3, then maybe it would have been a more threat to consider. But we are completely fine. This is going to allow us to play for maximum cap, just slotting in another Voyager for now. Maybe 5 Voyager is actually a little bit stronger. I want to see if we find a Bard, how we're going to consider. Improve our itemization. Notice that this Bramble Vest is not going to be doing that much in our matchups right now. Having more effective health is going to synergize a little bit more with that Crown Guard we have right there. Now the Blitzcrank is a potential threat that could knock our Lowy back, but does not. We are on the opposite side. Diana does not get to us, and we're clearing off this player. Now only 2 players stand in front of us. Find that Sona too, so this is very early that we're picking up all these units. Are we going to want... Yeah, I would assume that you are generally wanting to move the items off a 3-star 3 cost, sometimes from favor for a 2-star 5 cost. Going to go with that utility and mana, just maximum mana onto the Sona. Did again notice the positioning, and going to be clearing off another player from there, and going to win out actually. Yeah, I'm just sitting here yapping, but the Space Group player played for a tempo, only went for that Orn 3 with that heroic grab bag commit from 2-1, so they're not reaching that high of a cap, and they rolled the Radiant Bramble, which was not strong against ourselves, and we easily clear off this player. Beautifully played game by Tleyds, recognizing the possibility to go for an off-meta line, capitalizing on the fact that the rest of the lobby is going to be playing around these 3-cost units, and then go for a win out. Obviously lucky a little bit to secure that early Sona, but nonetheless nice to see that the anima weapon buffs definitely have worked out, and still there are potential carries that we are sometimes simply not considering, but given the right spot you can definitely play and win out with these kind of lines. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something new, and I shall see you in the next one. Have a good one.